Good morning, class. Hope everyone is doing well and staying healthy. Today, I'd like to go through a bit of our final assignment, our third short response paper. And this short response paper will be on Alfred North Whitehead's work, Religion in the Making. Now, we were assigned the first three parts. The first one is Religion and History. The second is Religion and Dogma. And the third is Body and Spirit. We're not going to be reading the fourth part, Truth and Criticism, though you can read it if you want to. It is a pretty difficult section. For this assignment, I've given you a choice of three questions, and you can choose any one of the three. Don't answer all of them, just answer one of the three and in 2 to 3 pages. Let me go ahead and read the questions, and then I wanted to say a bit about the concepts in each one of the questions. Okay, so for the first question, it says, in Religion in the Making, Alfred North Whitehead writes, thus religion is solitariness. And if you are never solitary, you are never religious. Collective enthusiasms, revivals, institutions, churches, rituals, Bibles, codes of behavior are the trappings of religion, its passing forms, end quote. Now the question continues. Please explain how religion is solitariness for Alfred North Whitehead and what the difference is between religion and the trappings of religion. Is religion primarily an individual or a social phenomenon for Alfred North Whitehead? So first thing, let's just talk about this question a bit first. Um, the first thing to do is to answer all aspects of the question. So be sure to address what solitariness is for Whitehead, how that relates to religion, and therefore why does he think religion is solitariness? Is religion primarily a individual or a social phenomenon? And what is the difference between religion and the trappings of religion? Now, a quick note: trappings of religion have nothing to do with being trapped by religion. In the past, some students have thought that that meant that trappings just mean the external forms of something. And so in the quote, he lists a variety of external forms. So trappings here are synonymous with external forms of religion and what he calls the passing forms, which means can change. Essentially, he's saying there's something both essential and inessential. The inessentiality can change, but the essential cannot. And he associates the trappings with religion with what can be debatably argued as inessential. But he'll list quite a few of these things, not inessential in the sense that they're not useful, but rather inessential in the sense that they change quite a bit over time. So collective enthusiasms, revivals, institutions, churches, rituals, Bibles, codes of behavior are the trappings or the external form of religion. It's passing forms, which means that over time and over history, as religions persist from one generation to the next, all of those things on the list will change a bit. Um, but something about religion shouldn't or doesn't, according to Alfred North Whitehead. Now, let me go ahead and read a bit of let me read the second question too, because there'll be overlap between the first and the second question. And then I'll talk about phenomena in both. So here's the second question. In Religion in the Making, Alfred North Whitehead writes, religion, so far as it receives its external expression in human history, exhibits four factors or sides of itself. These factors are ritual, emotion, belief, and rationalization. So the question continues. Please explain the contribution of each of these factors to religion and how each factor interacts with each other. Which factor is the most important uh, for religion? Explain why. And this is the most important according to Alfred North Whitehead. So I'll give you the part of that answer. Out of the four factors, the most important for Whitehead is rationalization. And rationalization has nothing to do with how we might view the term colloquially or in a psychological sense. Rationalization has to do with applying rationality to belief. And this is the most important stage for Whitehead. And Whitehead has a system of these factors or sides of religion. The first and the earliest, according to Whitehead, is ritual. What comes before ritual is necessity, and necessity are just things done out of need, right? So he'll give the example of hunting. Uh, some time ago, according to Whitehead, people hunted simply because they had to, and they still hunt because they have to survive. Now, this would be an example of necessity. Now, suppose someone does not need any food, but still hunts for the emotions it produces, such as success, emotions related to success, emotions related to accomplishment. So once that occurs, when a person does something not because they have to out of necessity, but because of the emotions it produces, that can be seen as a ritual. And in this sense, we can see how ritual leads to emotions. Um, and this, he thinks, he uses the word artificial. He says ritual artificially stimulates emotions. And he says two other things do as well. He uses the example of play, when children play, that stimulates emotions. And also when people do drugs, that stimulates emotions. So we have ritual, um, play, and emotions. I mean, and drug use all artificially stimulate emotions for Alfred North Whitehead. And he'll even talk about sort of the mixture of, say, alcohol in certain religious rituals, which he'll refer to. So we have individuals who are no longer acting totally out of necessity. Those individuals do rituals activity to produce emotions, and this continues. And Whitehead says the human being, because it is a cognitive, rational creature, will not just stop at doing activities for the pleasant emotional results of the activities, but instead they need to explain why they are doing these ritual activities. It's not just for the emotional satisfaction, it has to be more. And this is when belief comes into being. And some of the earliest forms of belief, or most poetic, expressive types of belief, these are myths. And so now we're getting a system of religion that begins with ritual, then proceeds to the emotional benefit of the ritual, and then proceeds to a belief system in which makes sense of the ritual behavior. And this is how religion begins for Alfred North Whitehead. This is, to use the title of his series of lectures, this is religion in the making. And these are all three good steps, but the fourth step is the most important for Whitehead. And this, in between belief and rationalization, comes this phenomenon of solitariness, which applies quite a bit to the first question. So here's how the notion of solitariness works. Suppose an individual is raised in a particular society, and in that society their needs are met, and so they begin to do rituals to stimulate emotion. And from those emotional um, ritualistic practices appear myth and belief. Let's say the belief in a creator God is one of the natural results of the ritual and of the emotion. And so now individuals in that society have this belief that a creator God exists. And all of them, they can either believe it or not believe it, right? So each individual within the society chooses to believe or not to believe. And they'll question their beliefs in that sense, in that certain context. Now, suppose an individual from this society uh, encounters another individual from a society that believes, say, that karma is true and the universe is eternal and there's no creator God in the same way as there was in the group that the individual came from. Now, the individual, if they are looking at their belief rationally, for a moment, they don't necessarily know how to process this other belief. They've always asked themselves, do I believe in a creator God or do I not? And they've decided on one or the other. But now they're asking, well, do I believe in a creator God, uh, or this notion that the universe is eternal? They've never had to think about it in that sense. And for a moment, they feel alone and apart from their own belief. They feel alienated from the form of belief, and now they cannot simply say, "Oh, I believe in a creator God, and I don't believe that the universe is eternal." They have to think for a moment. To themselves, well, what makes more sense? How do I understand my former belief now that I've encountered this new belief system? And this is this moment of not really knowing how to relate to a belief you used to have and you may still have, but you need new justification for given this new experience. That's called solitariness. You feel away from the former beliefs of your society because you're trying to sort of process this new information. And so this is Whitehead's notion of solitariness in action. Um, Now, suppose you decide to continue to believe in this creator deity, you will have to explain why, given the new belief, right? Now that you've encountered a belief that the universe is eternal, you have to give, and this is the fourth part, a rationalization, a reason on why you chose to believe in the creator God of the universe as opposed to the universe being eternal. Or you might switch beliefs. You might say, no, I find the other one more compelling. I believe the universe is eternal. I do not believe in the creator God anymore. Or you could make a synthesis of the two. For example, you're free to do whatever you'd like, but Whitehead says because we are rational creatures, we do have to form new reasons for our beliefs. And and that process is called rationalization. And that process can only be done in solitariness. The solitariness occurs when we encounter something new and novel. And in that process, it gives us a bit of alienation for a time from our former beliefs. Right? And so, this, I think, will talk a bit, what I've said so far will speak a bit to the first and the second question. Um, Let me read the third question, and then I'll say a few more things. In Religion in the Making, um, in Religion in the Making, Whitehead provides many examples of evil. Please define what evil is for Whitehead, utilizing these examples. Then explain whether you believe Whitehead's notion of evil is helpful to theodicy. That is to say, whether Whitehead's notion of evil is justified given his notion of God. So this is interesting. This will mostly be found in the third part of uh, of Religion in the Making, Body and Spirit. Whitehead has some very interesting things to say about the problem of evil as it's couched in a traditional form and as he sees it. So let me stress for a moment what a theodicy is. Again, so a theodicy is a justification for an all-powerful, all-knowing, perfectly good God given the problem of evil. And Whitehead will provide some answers to this. He is very interested in the problem of evil. He says all theologies become shipwrecked on the problem of evil, which means that all religions seek to explain evil in a way that satisfies those individuals that subscribe to the particular religion. You can't simply ignore evil in a religious system. Um, it has to be acknowledged in some way and explained given the other beliefs in the system. And so Whitehead gives a variety of evil. He does admit that it is physical or mental suffering. It is the loss of a greater opportunity uh, in and the experience of a lesser opportunity. It's a loss of potential. He'll say an interesting line. He'll say a hog is not an evil animal, but it is evil when a man is reduced to a hog. And so he has quite a few different definitions of evil, not contradictory, but more complementary. He has a variety of understandings of evil, and those help you, the reader, give a thorough understanding of what his understanding of evil is. Also, in the third part, he will give three notions of God. Pay close attention to those notions of God, and then he will present his own idea on what God is. And oftentimes in theodicy, you will uh, have an individual trying to show that perhaps we don't understand God's all powerfulness or all knowingness or all omnibenevolence as we should, and if we understand it in a different way, then perhaps we will understand it in relation to evil. Or perhaps if we understand evil in a different way, we will be able to make sense of it given God. So, this is what Whitehead seeks to do, particularly in the third chapter, Body and Spirit, a little bit in the second part or chapter, which is Religion and Dogma. Dogma is a belief that's been established and therefore does no longer need to be challenged. Right? So each religion has certain dogmas, certain things that they say, oh, we've already established that this is true. We no longer need to debate it the same way philosophers do. And in order for a religion to have suitable dogmas, they have to have suitable answers to the problem of evil. And this is really where Whitehead discusses it, and that's where his quote, all religious doctrines or all dogmas become shipwrecked on the problem of evil, definitely comes into play. Um, so this, I hope, helps with these three questions. Again, choose the one that you think you will do best in, and be sure to answer all aspects of the question. For the first one, definitely define what solitariness is and be able to distinguish religion from the trappings of religion. For the second one, explain why rationalization is the most important phase or stage for Alfred North Whitehead, and you should include the concept of solitariness in this. And for the third one, be sure to give a variety of examples on what evil is and try your best to provide a consistent idea on what Whitehead's notion of God is. Okay, so I hope this helps. Take care, and this is not due until May 20th, so don't procrastinate too then. Try to do a little bit each day. Have a good day.